You're listening You're listening to Pilgrims Grey Chronicles, top 3 stories of the week. The world's gone strange, but we love a good peek. From shadows deep to the global stage, we bring the truth from age to age, with harmony bold and a skeptical tone. We dig up the news they don't want known. So stoke the fire and have a seat. This week's top 3 can't be beat. Pilgrims Grey Chronicles.
Well, the fire is lit. The wind howls beyond these stone walls, and the mugs are raised high. And welcome, travelers, to the Pilgrims Grey Chronicles. Robert Clark, your host. A place where the headlines of this mad age are dragged back to the hearth and stripped of their polish until only the fingerprints of power remain. And tonight, we've gathered 3 tales pulled from the storm. A summit in the frozen north, where kings of the earth play chess with nations. A shadowy roll call of Epstein-linked lives cut short. And the strange case of Washington, D.C., where the sheriff's badge may be just another mask. So 3 stories, 3 threads, all weaving into the greater tapestry of the seed war that rages just beyond your ability to see it. So, before we begin, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, or Rumble, or both, or Spreaker, so you don't miss any of these dispatches to come in the future. We're on every major streaming service that I can think of, Spotify, Apple, others. I mean, those are the 2 main, but we are on other ones, including iHeartRadio, I believe. So if you want to support the journey, whether it's through music from our band, merchandise, or sharing the word with fellow wanderers, well, by all means, it only takes a couple seconds to subscribe or go check out the webpage. We try to always put it in the description so you can check out everything we have to offer. The lanterns are lit, and the links will be below, like I said, in the description. So now, I'm going to get this hair off my tongue. I don't know where that came from, probably our cats. The road goes ever on, and tonight it winds straight up into the shadows of power. So, all right, fellow pilgrims, refill the mugs and lean in a bit closer to the fire. Our first story tonight takes us far north. The mountains touch the clouds, and the wind howls through the spruce. But make no mistake, what went down in Alaska this week wasn't a wilderness retreat. It was a chessboard, and the pieces were moved in plain sight while the real game unfolded in the shadows. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's start at the beginning. On August 15, 2025, the icy air of Anchorage, Alaska carried more than seagull cries. It carried the weight of history. At Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, President Donald J. Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin walked a red carpet, and it was dramatic, a dramatic red carpet. I thought I had a picture of it, but I don't seem to. But we'll get you a closer-up image of this. And is there an image on here someplace? There he is waving. Yeah, just a waving. There's Mr. Putin himself. Their jackets are always without blemish or spot, aren't they? It's amazing. Anyway, I don't want to bore the folks who are just listening, who can't see that I'm scrolling through this to find the ridiculously huge red carpet. It must have been a different article. Anyway, so they walk it draped with the words Alaska 2025. They shook hands at exactly 11:08 a.m. local time, while F-22 Raptors and B-2 stealth bombers thundered overhead like a reminder. Diplomacy here comes under the shadow of the sword. So the delegations were as telling as the setting. On the U.S. side, you had Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Defense Pete Hegseth, and Commerce Howard Lutnick. Not just politicians, but financiers and military men, the kind you don't bring unless you're divvying up influence and resources. And then Russia, countered with Sergei Lavrov, strutting in a USSR sweatshirt, just in case anyone forgot the old empire never died in Moscow's heart. And then Kirill Dmitriev, the oligarch whisperer with ties in both Kiev and Wall Street. So now here's where things get interesting. Conspicuously absent is Ukraine, completely uninvited. The very nation this war is really about was left completely out in the cold, like a peasant watching kings divvy up his land from the castle keep, right? And instead, Trump declared he wanted to see a ceasefire today, while Putin muttered something about constructive talks. And the translation, we'll let you know what we decided once you've signed off on it. And yeah. But here's some of the subtext. Why Alaska? Well, because it's the historic hinge between East and West, once Russian territory, now American soil, and, conveniently, a military base offers insulation from both media leaks and pesky international courts. And why the bomber flyover? Because nothing says, trust me, like a nuclear-capable stealth machine cruising overhead. Right? And why the sweatshirt and the chicken Kiev on the menu? Because geopolitics is theater, and every costume and prop is a dagger wrapped in silk. It's all calculated. So I'm going to speculate here for a bit, because this is where the red pill goes down. Behind all this stagecraft and what we may have seen is the first step towards a new global alignment. East and West, sworn enemies now testing the waters of cooperation, not really for peace, but for order. Not order rooted in nations or people, but in elites who answer to no one but themselves, and most likely to powers even older and darker than these nation states. Because what is a new world order if not a replay of the plain of Shinar and Babel, right? The little g gods, watchers, gathering men under one banner of unity, not to honor the Most High, but to seat themselves in his place. So Alaska then, to me, wasn't just a summit. It was a ritual stage, the place where two leaders, backed by financiers, oligarchs, and military brass, pantomimed peace while laying bricks for the beast system, a counterfeit unity above law, above borders, and above truth. And you have to laugh at the absurdity, right? Think about it. Trump and Putin eating chicken Kiev while jets scream overhead, with one man in a USSR hoodie and the other in a red tie, pretending to sketch peace without the very country at war present. If that's not parody, fallen angels laughing through their puppets, I don't know what is. So, raise your mugs, fellow travelers, to Alaska 2025, where the handshake was real, the progress was staged, and the fingerprints on the script may well belong to powers not of this world. And the road goes ever on, right? That's the world we live in. So if Alaska is our stage of global chess, handshakes, bombers, and silent scripts being written in coded handshake language, then now we're descending into a different kind of darkness. From the high peaks of covert diplomacy, we plunge into the shadow of mortality. The mysterious deaths tied to Epstein and his network. So grab a warm blanket, because this one gets chilling. So tonight's second story isn't just about headlines. You've heard of crash, fall, suicide. But what if those weren't mere accidents, but signals? So let's tally some of these names, the dates, the odd natural causes, and stitch them into a pattern that whispers behind the curtains of power. We're spotlighting names connected to Jeffrey Epstein. There's more than 24. That's really odd, isn't it? I mean, you could probably count on one hand or less the number of people you know that have died mysteriously around you, associated with you. But this is over 2 dozen. It's kind of like the Clintons. So you have victims, accusers, associates who died under circumstances that were sometimes tragic, often mundane, and always a bit too convenient. So Epstein ruled suicide in jail, yet the cracks in that conclusion feel louder than the muffled verdict. If you recall, we had a video we showed, may have been last Friday, where the guy breaks down how it's pretty clear that they tampered with the video from outside the cell. He went through the entire, I think, FOIA requested breakdown of the camera info. Like literally read all the way through it. I don't know who does that, but I'm glad he did because it was pretty telling. And then Virginia Giuffre, survivor and highest profile accuser, officially died by suicide. So now we have the leading witness go silent. Pretty convenient. And then Jean-Luc Brunel, a model agent tied to trafficking charges, official prison suicide. Trial never happened. Stephen Hoffenberg, financial mentor to Epstein, found dead alone at home, decomposition advanced, natural causes, or quiet removal. They can always make it look like anything they want. It's just so super convenient that right around the time that these people could cause damage here, they just die of natural causes. Carolyn Andriano and Leah Sky Patrick both died of overdoses. I mean, it's tragic, but it also seems like a tidy erasure, doesn't it? And then Steve Being, Mark Middleton, Thomas Bowers, Ruslana Korshanova, deaths by suicide, gunshot, somebody fell, each so theatrical and too trope-like. And there are dozens more, names lost between legal filings, court documents, Reddit lists, whispers of meetings undone. It's just amazing. Suicides, jail suicides, natural causes at home, overdoses, falls, suicides. And the timing. I mean, these aren't batch deaths, they're trickles like a drip. Not a waterfall, but slow attrition and timed well, like just before the damage can be done. Maybe they were even offered some sort of silence deals of some sort, and it may have become clear either through phone tapping or, they have the capability of looking at everything we do, whether it's emails. If they wanted to, they could listen to my podcast right now. They can tap into any Wi-Fi on the planet so they can hear and see everything we do. Anyway, the thing is the people vanishing are witnesses, accomplices, people who knew too much. Every link in the chain being quietly broken so that they can cover things. It's almost like watching a real life episode of The Blacklist, for anybody who's ever watched it, Anyway, no explosions in the headlines, no scandals, just silence and disappearing names as people drop like flies. Which, of course, causes a giant bubble of silence when other people see other people dying and nothing being done about it. I mean, why would they come out? Now, you might think, well, if they come out and they put themselves out there in the media, that's protection for them. No, I mean, if you've watched any of the show for very long, you begin to realize the intricate spider web of co-conspirators they have at their disposal. Judges, police officers, people involved with the court system, people involved at every high level everywhere through organizations like Masons, the FOP. They're so interlinked, like circles within circles within circles, like we've gone over before. They don't necessarily have to know everything that's going on above them, All they know is when they get an order, they do it. If they need to cover somebody's butt within their own organization, they do it. It's how it works. Um, I feel bad for anybody involved with this because there's really, I mean, who would you turn to? You wouldn't be able to trust anyone. It's best just to stay away from these people if at all possible, or expose them in such a way to the general public that, maybe what needs to happen is a brave individual just needs to come out and even just knowing they're probably going to be killed and spill the beans in a way that can't be denied. And that's what will eventually bring something like this down, is enough people doing that, being willing to sacrifice themselves to be and get it out there in a way that everybody will see. So, and you have to smile at the economy of it all, right? Not a good happy smile, but a smirk. Announce suicide, move on. Delete the name from the guest list with hospital efficiency. Oh, never saw them. Don't know what you're talking about. Never knew them. And that's not coincidence. To me, that's choreography. And it's not just fallout, it's selective attrition. The trail of bodies is more than morbid. It is methodical. I mean, you can just see it, right? Here is the story. He's looking pretty rough there, though, isn't he? I don't even know how old Epstein was when he was spirited away to wherever he is now. I don't believe he's dead for 1 second. I feel like guys like this have a kill switch. And by that, what I mean is if they were actually offed, they have things in place that release information that very few people know about, if anybody. They always have some way of keeping themselves alive. Does that make sense? And it's why all these people have to be this way. They've got to cooperate. The whole idea behind all of Epstein and all that these people were doing was all about blackmail, with people who were willing to engage in compromising things. And that's the problem. Don't do these evil things. Don't get a bunch of money and think, well, these guys will cover me. Yeah, they might, but you know what else they're going to do? They're going to get you to do crazier upon crazier things because they've got you over a barrel. It's best to not deal with them at all, unless you're just a sociopath just like they are. And then I guess it doesn't matter, does it? Enjoy your money and your power while it lasts, because it's only temporary, and you'll be separated from God forever, surrounded by who knows what. No thanks from my end. So that is story 2, the Epstein chain, quiet deaths, coded messages. But from discreet silencing, we move on to spectacle. Story 3, it's all about bold overreach. Trump's federal takeover of DC's police. Power plays are loud, deaths whisper, and in both cases, the deepest actors are watching cameras, or none will be found. So far we've had the frozen handshake of Alaska to the quiet silences of Epstein's network. But this third story brings us back to the beating heart of America, Washington, D.C., where President Trump just pulled a maneuver that's either a rescue mission or a rehearsal, or both, depending on who you ask. And he's either the sheriff riding in to clean up Dodge or the magician setting the stage for his next big trick. And maybe the next big trick is first acting like the sheriff riding into town to clean up Dodge. So this past week, Trump declared a crime emergency. See, right here. Crime emergency. I wish I could get rid of this stupidity. I do not want it on here. Anyway, that was a dumb story, by the way. Sydney Sweeney, Baskin Robbins. Anyway, so the National Guard. Trump declared a crime emergency in D.C., a city where, ironically, crime had been on the decline. So he invoked the Home Rule Act, federalized the police, put National Guard troops on the streets, and handpicked a federal official to oversee the show. Now, supporters cheered, of course. When do they not? But that's to be expected by somebody you support, right? It seems like a good thing. I mean, I would even be on board in cleaning up crime if, that's what was really going on and there was nothing else going on, right? I mean, we all want to see crime handled, do we not? And so they say it's about time someone took control, right? And critics muttered about authoritarian overreach and federal occupation. So, for the white hats out there, or the faithful, this is classic white hat Trump, right? Look, the city's broken. He's fixing it. Finally, someone's standing up for law and order. He's showing us what real leadership looks like, taking bold action where weak mayors and councils failed, right? All that theater from back in the past leading up to this. Because I think it's all a stage. And hey, who wouldn't want safer streets, right? On the surface, it looks like good medicine, a strong hand to calm the chaos. A working together Hegelian dialect, in my opinion. So here's, I speculate. What happens when you start to like it, right? If Trump can sweep in, override local government, and put the troops on the streets in D.C., what stops him from doing it elsewhere? Chicago, New York, maybe even every city under the sun. And what if this temporary emergency morphs into a long-term necessity? He's already signaled he wants to extend the control beyond 30-day window, right? And that's how emergency powers work, right? Temporary at first, permanent by precedent. And that's the problem. They love the crisis because they know you'll want it solved, and then they move in to solve it, and they make it sound like it's a great thing, but you always have regrets and remorse for it, just like the Patriot Act. Once we all really discovered what they were up to, they eventually destroyed the Bill of Rights. So again, what looks like salvation today could easily become scaffolding tomorrow. Trust is built in these little victories, right? See, look, he cleaned up the city. He must be the good guy. But trust is also the currency of control. And once you've handed it over, you will virtually never get it back without some level of not good stuff. I don't want to use certain keywords because if I say them, I'll get another ding. But it doesn't have to be outright sinister in the moment. It just has to feel good enough now so that when the bigger move comes later, when the stage is set, you welcome it. Not you necessarily, but you get the idea. You know who I'm referencing. They will welcome it. The multitudes. It's like your neighbor basically showing up with cookies and a smile and saying, hey, don't worry, I will mow your lawn for free. You're a great neighbor. And it sounds great the first time until you realize he's also rearranging your furniture, changing your locks, and moving his family into your spare bedroom. Slowly but surely. So, for a final thought, here we are, Trump taking over DC's police. Is he a hero or is he a Trojan horse? I don't know. Maybe it's both. Maybe neither. Maybe if history teaches us anything, it's this. Power grabs dressed up as public service rarely stop at the city limits. And when the dust settles, you got to ask, was it about safety or sovereignty? It is almost always a BS play for more control. All you got to do is look at history. There's no reason for you to trust any of these people, ever. Ever. Ever, 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 and ever. And that, fellow travelers, brings us to the close of tonight's gathering here at Pilgrims Grey Inn. I need to do a show probably on several reasons why you can't trust the government if you haven't figured it out yet. Because I know many and my audience probably know all of these things, right? Or most of them. And so, but it's not necessarily for you that I mention the idea of doing a show about government trust, right? I would do it with the idea that you could share the show with your friends who have not woken up yet, who still watch CNN and Fox News as if it's reality instead of narrative building and propaganda and psyop. Uh, and they have no reason to think otherwise because they don't know about uh, some of the things in history. In fact, I was just talking with a coworker this morning that was talking about the 2020 stuff and how he kept testing positive and couldn't figure it out and thought it was his nasal spray. And I wanted so desperately just to say, no, they fixed those tests so that no matter what day you went, no matter when, you were going to test positive. It's what they wanted. They wanted the positive tests. Anyway, I didn't bother to say anything because he was on a roll and he was just happy to be able to be off for 3 weeks. So that's really all he cared about. So 3 weeks with pay, by the way. 3 weeks with pay. It did take up a week of his sick pay, but still he got off for 3 weeks with pay. So, wow, 3 weeks of vacation, really. Anyway, tonight we've talked about Alaska handshakes, the Epstein vanishing witnesses, and we've gone into the streets of DC under new management. Different stories, but they're all tied by the same thread. Power, moving in silence, or spectacle, while the rest of us are told it's all for our good. I'm so tired of hearing it. Because there's an element of truth to it, right? There always is. So it might be a temporary good that they want us to ask for. They want us to want it. It's how it's the most effective. But once it's implemented, you know the rest of the story. It's never good. Never. And so on our road that goes ever on, so do we, right? If you've found tonight's dispatch worth the time by the fire, I always do, and I hope you do too. Don't just carry it in your own pack, share it with another wanderer. Hit subscribe on YouTube or Rumble. Follow the podcast on Spreaker, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. It's all out there. Leave a 5-star review if you want to support the journey. We have links for the band, which, by the way, those of you who have subscribed to the band will be releasing our single in most likely the first week of September, the first single off the new album. And the new album should come out by the end of October, probably first week of November or so. And I hope you like it. It's much better produced than the first one because I know more about what I'm doing and I've got some better gear, some outboard stuff that, well, I could get all musically nerdy with you, but I won't. But some stuff that really gels and glues things together much better without sounding over compressed. It's just natural and clear, and I'm really liking the way that it sounds. Sometimes spending the extra money on better converters and better equipment can make all the difference in your mix. I know people may not necessarily want to believe that, but it's a combination of skill and knowing how to use equipment, but gear does count. What you're using definitely makes a difference. Yes, you can do incredible things even with the lesser expensive stuff, but man, you can take your sound to a whole new level when you're using really good stuff. So anyway, yes, support us. I'm still working on a Patreon and looking into new things to improve the show all the time. My problem is just having time to do it, just like you all have your own problems with time too, I'm sure. And anyway, every mug lifted, every share, every word spoken helps keep the lantern lit against the gathering dark. I need to make some Pilgrims Grey in shirts. I have Pilgrims Grey Chronicles podcast shirts, but I haven't had time to work on new shirts. But maybe I'll do that this weekend if I can find time to do it, as well as the Facebook page and some other things. I really need to just knuckle down and get it done. So until we meet again, travelers, keep your eyes sharp, your heart steady, and remember, the road that goes ever on winds through shadows, but it leads to truth for those who are aware of Romans 8:28 and what it means. So good night from Pilgrims Grey Chronicles, and Godspeed to you all. Have a great weekend.